I was living in New York City at the time, and I was pretty lonely. And if anybody has experienced loneliness before or is maybe feeling lonely now, know that I feel you. Right? It's not easy. I would ride my bike every day to work, and I would see thousands of people commuting, crammed into the subways, nobody speaking to each other. It was like we were all alone together. So something was starting to shift in me. So I pushed myself to take one small step. And I sent out an email to everybody I knew in New York City with a bicycle. And I invited them to join me in starting a bike gang. Now, the first meetup was 18 people, an incredibly intimidating crew. You might be able to see the look of terror in my eyes, knowing that in a moment I was going to have to get up in front of this group and lead this bike ride and speak in front of them. But I pushed myself, and I stood up on a park bench, and I shared our first destination, Coney Island. And that day we rode to the famous Cyclones roller coaster on Coney Island, and on the way back, we decided that we would name ourselves the Cyclones Bike Club. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but for me, to lead that small group was an act of courage. And what I went to learn from this is that acts of courage create momentum. Our next ride had 30 people. The ride after that had 50. We started to do this thing where at the very start of every ride, I would call out 1, 2, 3, jump, and we'd take a jump shot. And by the end of the summer, we had hundreds of people showing up on these rides. And it was cool to see because friendships were forming, new businesses were starting. People were falling in love with people that they met through these rides. But for me, I didn't feel alone anymore. I was able to do this thing that I hadn't really done since 8th grade on retreat, which was to lead, to gather. And the more I was able to connect with other people, the more I felt like I was able to access more of my power. And this is the second simple step in my framework. Choose connection. Right? When the noise in our heads gets loud and the isolation, the overthinking starts to kick in, choose connection with others. Right? What we crave most is to connect with other people. When we connect with others, we feel like we belong. And when we feel like we belong, we perform our best, we give our best. But because for so many of us, when we're in our fight or flight response, when we're in that survival mode, because of all of the noise that's coming at us today, the tendency is to not step towards connection, it's to withdraw, it's to isolate, further preventing us from the thing that we need and want most. I mentioned acts of courage a moment ago. When you notice yourself pushing away, when you notice yourself going into that protection mode, the act of courage is to take a step towards connection. About a year after we started the Cyclones Bike Club, I did something that I'd always wanted to do, and I made a little bit more space for my life. And I was able to take 2 weeks off work to travel to Tanzania and to volunteer at a local orphanage in a town called Moshi. And while I was volunteering at the orphanage, I got to spend time with this awesome group of students. And the more I got to know them, the more I learned about what was involved for them to get to school every day. For a lot of these students, they were walking up to 20 miles to get from their orphanage to get to the school. It's about seven hours or so of walking every day. And of course, this was having an impact on their academic potential. So I went to the head principal of the school, and I asked him, I said, would bicycles help the students? And he said, 1 bike would change the school. 5 bikes would change the entire community. So when I went back to New York City that summer, at our next Cyclones ride, I announced a new reason to ride, to raise money to create bike share programs, for students in these rural parts of Tanzania. And after that, the cyclones rides just took off. Everywhere we went, 7, 8 city blocks. We had riding chapters opening up in new locations, new cities. So ultimately, the purpose of the cyclones changed. It went from being about connecting with others to serving others. And what this taught me is that if we really want to step into our courage, we must assign meaning to it. It must be about something that's greater than ourselves. If we really want the people that we lead to step into their courage, we must help them find meaning in the work. When we do that, they will find courage and strength inside of themselves that they didn't know existed. We wound up raising a good chunk of money for this program. So in addition to being able to have this bike share for students in rural Tanzania, we were also able to create and donate bike shops and bike mechanic programs that are still profitable to these rural communities today. But the best part was seeing the faces of the students when they got their bicycles. And my favorite part was them doing their own jump shot. So the greatest form of human connection is service. I feel like this group here embodies that deeply. And when we're able to really connect our work, our responsibilities, even our fun to service, what's possible expands. The limitless and the potential starts to expand. And the noise in our heads starts to disappear.